Hi, everyone. Miss Steinberg here. Hope you're enjoying your summer. I wanted to share some Parsha thoughts. This week's Parsha is Parsha Shelach. In my 7X class, we always used to do snack and Parsha. So if you want to grab a snack, that can make it a little more enjoyable. But I'm so excited for you to learn together this idea. So I wanted to figure out what exactly is the mistake of the Meraglim. The Meraglim is the key story in this Parsha. What was their mistake of the spies? And I want to figure that out because the punishment's a big deal. They end up traveling in the desert longer, and the generation that left Egypt is not the generation that goes into Israel. So it's a big deal. So let's look at the psukim together and try to figure out what happened. So in the beginning, this is Hashem's idea. Hashem says to Moshe, Shlach lecha anashim, pick people, vayaturu, I love that word because it sounds like tour, which is kind of what they're doing. They're scouting or spying out at Ta'aretz Canaan. They're spying out the land. Asher ani noten lebnei Israel. God says, let's do this. Let's get people to scout out the land. And one person from every tribe is going to go. So Vaishlach otam Moshe does this. And here's a list of all the different people that were sent. One from every tribe, so that's 12 total. Famously, we have Kalev from Shevet Yehuda, and we have Yoshua, or at the time it's called Hoshea, from Ephraim. They're the most famous because they're the two that stand against the negative report. And then Vaishlach otam Moshe, so then they go. And they do their mission. V'ra'item et ha'aretz, the pasuk Yud Chet and Yud Tet and Chaf. Okay, through Chaf Daled, they look at the mission and they do their mission. They scout out the land, they observe. Now, pasuk Chaf He, vayashuvu mitor ha'aretz. They returned from scouting out the land, and it took them 40 yom, 40 days. Vayachu, vayavohu el Moshe v'el Aaron. So now they come to Moshe, Aaron, and Kol Adat B'nai Israel, and they share their report. And they tell them that the land is flowing with milk and honey and has a lot of fruit. And then FS, but, however, okay, and now the report goes different. It says, Ki az ha'am, the nation is really strong, Hayoshev ba'aretz, that's in the land. And their cities are very fortified. They're really well protected. And the people there are anak, they're giants, whether that's literally giants or they're really, really big, that's who's there. And then it tells us who's settled there. We got Amalek and all these nations. I don't know if you heard the bell. And Kalev comes in because he's realizing that this report is going sour. Maybe he's also feeling the tension of the people that were not getting reported in the pasuk. But the pasuk tells us, Ha'anashim asher alu imo, the people who went with him, the other spies, they say, Lo nuchal la'alot ha'am. We cannot go there. Ki chazaku mimenu. And they go on for the rest of the parak to say that we can't go there. So what exactly is the problem? That's what I'm trying to figure out. If the Meraglim's mission was to go and report what they saw, now you can compare and contrast what they saw and what they reported, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is what they saw. They saw cities that were very well fortified, strong people. This isn't going to be an easy mission. So what did they do wrong? They're reporting what they saw. So what I think the issue is, and might be why they're not created such a punishment, is I think, like, again, let's say America had a scout, which is strategic. You go and scout out in a war what you're about to attack, and then you report back. Well, if there's a problem, then we have to figure it out. So decide if this is a mission worth doing or a mission not worth doing. So it's not on the table that this is not a mission we're not doing, because this is the promise that we have from God, and this is what we're going to do. I think the question more is, how can we fulfill this mission? And it doesn't seem like the people are on board. And the Meraglim, they create hysteria. It's in how they tell the report, not what the report is. I don't think the issue is that they lied. I think the issue is in how they reported it and how they told it. It says that they met with Aaron, Moshe, Aaron, and Kol Adat B'nai Israel. I do not know why all of B'nai Israel are there. If America went to go scout out a land, would it be televised on TV for the entire nation to know what they saw right away? No, we don't find out about those things. The leadership deals with it. That can create such hysteria if we know all those details right away. So I don't know why B'nai Israel are there. To me, that's one of the major mistakes. I'm curious why Moshe let that happen also. Like, let's hear the report. It also seems like the Meraglim are not into trying to figure out what the mistake is, like to figure out how to deal with this challenge. The FS, the however, to me, the issue is more that it's not that they can't share anything negative, it's that they shouldn't share. They shouldn't share in a way that wouldn't be a productive conversation, right? So if, let's say, you are upset with something that's happening at home or in your classroom or at camp, like, I don't understand why the lunch is not good, or whatever it might be, like that's not going to be heard, right? So why couldn't they make it constructive? Let's have a productive conversation. It didn't seem like there was any setup for that, and the people ate that up. The nation ate that up. Oh my God, hysteria. So why can't, like, that to me seems like the biggest issue. And I want to show you a little clip from a video that I think also kind of explains why the punishment is what the punishment is. So let's watch.
But the people don't listen. They're panic-stricken, and they cry out in fear. Based on this reaction, God decides that this generation of Israelites, freshly liberated from Egypt, is not capable of inheriting the land after all. God causes them to wander in the desert for 40 years, long enough for a new generation to be born, a generation that never lived as slaves, and thus would be confident enough to conquer the land. Of course, if God knows everything, you might ask, why bother with spies at all? Why not just tell Moses about the land and cut out the middlemen? The answer is that just like us, the ancient Israelites had to learn lessons for themselves. We're not babies, and God doesn't give us all the answers, either today or way back then. We have to figure things out for ourselves because that's what people do. And sometimes we get it wrong. The children of Israel let themselves be ruled by fear and panic. They could have inherited the land, but because they thought they couldn't, well, they couldn't. The spies weren't really sent to learn about the land. They were sent to learn about themselves.
Okay. So I feel like that video kind of captures the essence of what the main issue was. The issue really was that the nation wasn't ready. It is a hard mission, but they weren't ready to figure out how to do the mission. So I think it is okay to report something negative. That's what it was. But how do I deal with that? Okay, so I didn't get dealt an easy hand, but are you ready to play the hand? It seems like they weren't. I think God ultimately realizes this nation will never be ready to play this hand. Going into Israel as Canaan, as former slaves, it's too big of an ask. The next generation will be ready for it. And it's kind of sad. Here's the people who left, but they'll never make it in. Their children will, but their mentality as a people, Moshe himself doesn't either make it in, not because of the error of the Meraglim. That's something we'll get to if you tune in for Parshat Chukat, but it's just not a mission that this nation can do. So in conclusion, I feel that the issue of the Meraglim is not because they lied in their report. I think that they told what they saw. The problem to me is how they dealt with it. We're not going to always get a positive report. It's not always going to be perfect. Anything. You don't get the bunk choice that you wanted, or you don't get the class placement, or the project that you wanted to do, or the meal that I wanted. It doesn't always get dealt right. It doesn't always happen that way. But how do I do it? Sometimes the answer is I need to challenge the authority and figure it out. How do I challenge? Do I do it respectfully? Sometimes I just live with it and make it work. Doesn't mean you always have to do that, right? As a teacher, I don't want my students to always be like, yeah, whatever you say, Ms. Steinberg. Challenge, but challenge respectfully. Be a part of the solution. It seemed like the Meraglim were not part of the solution. Like, this isn't going to work. And on top of that, they got the entire nation to rally behind them and create hysteria. Well, that's not productive, right? Imagine if I got so upset by, like, I don't know, the way the curriculum, how could we be learning this in the 7th grade? And I got all the students upset about it too. It's like that, but what's happening? So that's something to think about. It's not about it's not about seeing something negative. It's about, how do I handle that? Can I be a part of the change and a part of the solution? The Meraglim were not ready for that, and neither was the nation. I hope you enjoyed. Have a Shabbat Shalom.